is, number one is sincerity, being sincere to yourself and to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in that you're seeking this knowledge to remove the ignorance from yourself first. Then secondly is gentleness, yani learning this deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a steady, frequent pace. Now another point for us, before I move to the third point that I actually had written, but I just remembered, so please forgive me for that, is when you seek knowledge, it shouldn't be a hobby. Yani, for those of us that go to work, I go to work myself, you spend the best part of your fresh hours working, and then you come home, the sweat or the brain is hurting, if whatever type of work you're doing, and you're really tired, and then you open the book, 40 Hadith Nawawi, you start reading maybe 3 sentences, khalas, you're gone. Where's the benefit in that? Rather what the Talib al-Ilm should do, understanding your situation. Remember, it's not unique. We're not in a unique situation that we have to work and seek knowledge. The Sahabas used to do that. The Prophet ﷺ used to do that. Many of them, Umar ibn Khattab, Ali radiallahu ta'ala, and all of them, they used to work and they used to seek knowledge. But there was a balance. They didn't work, and then right at the night, go to the Prophet ﷺ and say, tell me something about the deen of Allah. No. While they were fresh, they were also learning about the deen of Allah. While their minds were awake, they were learning about the deen of Allah. So what they did is they maximized their time in relation to seeking the knowledge. And this is a disease amongst us today. We feel that our priorities are a little bit mixed up, and I remind myself of this. Our priorities are mixed up in that we make knowledge almost like a secondary or sometimes even a tertiary issue. Everything else comes first, and then we think about knowledge. I read a couple of pages, and then we worry why we're still ignorant. So even the Sheikh mentioned in this article himself that the student of knowledge should seek knowledge with freshness, while he has freshness in him. And for those of us who have children, the adolescent or the child, his brain capacity and the ability to learn is intense. You cannot teach, you cannot give enough. The more you give, the more they can take. So don't be shy to really teach your children at the earliest age, because those things that you teach them, they will retain it in their years as you get older. And then when you become old like me, then things don't sink in very well. It takes a couple of more times before you understand it. So that the youth, the time of that youth, use it wisely. It won't come again. Trust me. It's very, very important. While you're young, you learn, it stays with you. And then the third point is, the Shaykh, he mentions that he must be persistent in his search for knowledge, giving it the dearest and sweetest parts of his time, and not the dead, this is what I just mentioned, and not the dead and lifeless parts of it. Because if you are exhausted after work, you will not benefit from the knowledge. Maybe a little or two, maybe a little or slightly more than that. And in that third point, the Shaykh, he mentions that equally one should not be, we should also not be of those who look down on knowledge. What he means by that is where it comes from. whether it comes from a child or an elderly person or someone that is a lowly person. Rather, what we should do is accept the knowledge. Provided it is correct knowledge, we should accept it. And the scholars, subhanAllah, have mentioned in a clear example, the Shaykh goes on to say, which is the story of the Prophet, or Prophet Sulaiman, and the whoopie bird. Even though the whoopie bird was lowly in terms of status, yani the human and the animal, that's what we're talking about. That, the human has a higher stature than the animal. And composure. And Sulaiman was elevated in terms of stature. So Sulaiman alayhi salam was a prophet. In the sight of Allah before all of the creatures. However, the whoopie bird said to him, I have grasped knowledge, as Allah says in the Quran, I have grasped knowledge of something that you have not grasped. And I have come to you from Sheba with certain news. So the scholars say, so the whoopie bird in this situation knew something that Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam was unaware of, subhanAllah. So the people of knowledge have derived from this story that you should not be arrogant when someone brings you a point of benefit from knowledge, regardless of who it comes from. So Sulaiman alayhi salam, he didn't say to himself, this is a bird. What am I going to say? What am I going to learn from a bird? Come on. No. Rather, the example we take from that is if the knowledge comes and is true, be humble, accept it. Be humble and accept it. Just because a child says to you, you should be cleaning between your toes with your little finger. You don't say, go away from here. What do you know about that thing? You're only 7 years old. No. We have stories of Hassan and Hussein in the hikmah when they were teaching the old man how to do wudu. How did they do it? They did wudu and they were speaking about it and teaching the old man, and the old man learned from it. The old man didn't say, you're still a young shabab, what do you know about the deen of Allah? No. Rather, if the knowledge is correct, then you take it from wherever it comes. However, in this time, we must be even more meticulous to make sure that we're taking it from those people who we know to have the knowledge that is clean from the Salaf as-Salih. It is knowledge that is upon the Quran and the Sunnah. We don't take it from anyone in those terms. So just because you're on Q&A or something, we shouldn't really be watching that, because we don't know what's coming from there. And it may confuse us. But however, what we do is we take the knowledge from those who are from the scholars. I think I've taken more than enough time. The last thing I wanted to mention, we'll leave this for another time, inshallah. So the essence of what I wanted to get across today is why we, brothers and sisters, young, old, doesn't matter what stage of your life you are,